Jeremy? Hello, Mr. Brown. Hello.
It's Tucker here. I'm here setting up. Can you hear me?
Dan, how you doing, man? This is Jeremy.
What's going on with you, Jeremy? I see you.
How's what school's that?
This is Gensler.
Gensler? Okay.
Yeah. And they actually, I don't. They didn't change it, but I thought it was gonna say Gensler instead of Kristen Brown.
I think I can change that. I can change that.
Yeah. I think they wanted it yesterday when I was on a call with Chad and Greg. They said they rather have it say Gensler School. Yep.
There you go. You see it?
Yep. It's up.
Cool.
You can hear
How's
me
life?
fine.
I can hear say something again.
Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you just fine.
All right.
Is she gonna be sitting on the far end or
She's gonna be sitting in the middle, and then when she speaks, I'm gonna zoom in.
oh yeah, yeah, okay. Who
Yeah.
else is gonna be there? Is this gonna be just her or two other people?
Two other people.
Okay.
So we're good.
Oh yeah, it shows a okay. Just have to work with that. How's life treating you though?
Not too bad, Jeremy. How about yourself?
Same here.
Yeah, they keeping you busy?
Yep.
I
I know they're keeping
heard
you
that.
busy. I know they're keeping you busy.
You know they are.
Chromebooks galore.
That's what they should change the department to, Chromebook technology. That's what it is nowadays.
Yep, everything's changed, man.
I'm gonna step out for a minute, Jay, and go track
Uh,
down this person now to tell her I did the test round.
okay, cool.
All right. Hey, Jeremy,
Yes.
are we able to turn off the video when we're not the one speaking, or how does
Yeah,
that
you can do
work?
that. Yeah. Usually what happens is once they do done with their testing and all that stuff, and we can hear them and whatever, they turn off the audio, and then when they come up, I think you're item number 3.
Uh-huh.
Then it's when they start item number 3. That's when you turn your camera on.
Where's the option out for that, Jeremy? Do I go? Which setting do I go to?
You should have something that says
Just the
Zoom that
stop
says stop
video?
video.
Okay. So
There
you
you
can
go.
still hear me right now?
Yeah, and then mute yourself actually also.
Okay, I got you. I thought that was gonna kick me out
No, you turn if you can stop video and unmute, just mute yourself. You'll be fine.
Got you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, and then Recording in progress.
It. For tonight.
All comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. All speakers are asked to state their name and spell their last name before proceeding with their comments. Each speaker will have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to speak. After a speaker's time is up, they may continue to follow the meeting at one of the broadcast options mentioned previously. To ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind, including inappropriate language, will not be tolerated. The chair reserves the right to remove anyone engaging from such behavior from the platform. Those removed from the platform may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, he or she will not be allowed to return to the platform. Written testimony may be submitted to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Also, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting https://milwaukeepublic.ic-board.com. Now, let's begin, Madam Secretary. Item number 1.
Item number 1 is a report with possible action regarding the Community Schools Work Group. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present this item?
Chair Stevenson and members of the committee, Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. Since the adoption of this resolution related to community schools, a robust community schools work group has been collaborating with various stakeholders and subcommittees to develop a policy as it relates to the key practices of the community schools. I would like to ask Mr. Christopher Garza and Dr. Jan Griesbach to walk us through the presentation. And after they're complete, we'll be more than happy to respond to any questions that you may have. Also would like to co-presenting with us tonight, Naomi Elam, a graduating junior from North Division High School that you will hear from tonight as well. Dr. Griesbach?
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. My name is Dr. Jan Griesbach, Director of Instructional Leadership for the Southwest Region, also supporting community schools through the Office of School Administration. I'm here tonight with Mr. Chris Garza, Community School Coordinator, to provide an update on the overall progress of Resolution 2122R005 regarding community schools and the collective impact of the work groups. Establishing the work group supported the opportunity for the 5 priorities for success to be elevated, particularly improving district and school culture, developing our staff, and strengthening communication and collaboration through hearing the various perspectives from stakeholders, while also providing the stage for staff and student voice. Resolution 2122R005, co-authored by President Peterson and Director Gugungaldi, is on target for a proposed draft to be delivered during the month of December and established with the outcome to ultimately create a policy to guide current community schools and expansion of future community schools. The work group process has been built on developing a common understanding, open communication, and trust, while nurturing various viewpoints and student and staff voice to arrive at a common vision to drive key practices of community schools forward. Special recognition is to be given to Milwaukee Public School students and staff, Milwaukee Teachers Education Association, and the United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha County for all their time and talents provided, given a very aggressive timeline. At this time, I'd like to pass the presentation over to Mr. Chris Garza.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Chris Garza, District Community School Coordinator. The work group convened 5 times from late September through late October. As can be seen on slide 4, the work group was made up of various stakeholders that totaled 32 members that included staff, parents, and community members of current community schools. At the very beginning, the work group dedicated itself to understanding the community school strategy, which provided a pathway for the work group to support the crafting of a community schools policy. The work group aligned its work efforts to 3 key practices, which were shared leadership, equity, and cultural relevance. The developed subcommittees analyzed specific community schools data, answered specific guiding questions, and allowed for input to be received from the various stakeholders for each key practice. Because of this process, the work group was able to support the crafting of a community schools policy while keeping the community school strategy in the forefront. Within slide 5, you can see that an advisory committee was established and also convened 5 times from early September through late October. This committee had representatives from Milwaukee Public Schools, the United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha County, Milwaukee Teachers Education Association, and community partners. This committee supported the facilitation of the work group and was part of the decision-making process of how the work group would provide substantial input for the crafting of a community schools policy. The advisory committee was also divided into 3 subcommittees that mirrored the work group to support the alignment of themes or common concerns within the 3 key practices, which again, maintain the focus of the community school strategy when crafting community school policy language. On slide 6, you'll see a visual of the process the work group followed that was approved and supported by the advisory committee. The focus analyzed community conversation data collected from all current community schools in combination with universal implementation data and input provided by the work group that will lead to crafting policy language. Work group members had the opportunity to provide praise, provide questions for reflection, or recommendations of how to continue polishing specific policy language. This process has become known as the PQP. The advisory committee also had an opportunity to do the same process. The praises, questions, and recommended polishes have been reviewed and taken into consideration when making revisions to the community schools policy. The original plan was to have 12 students included in the virtual work group meetings scheduled from 4:30 to 6 p.m. This conflicted with student schedules and/or other student priorities. Therefore, to ensure student voice, community school principals and community school coordinators work together to coordinate community conversations with youth council members or members of a leadership organization that focus on 3 questions. Question 1, based on your experience, what aspects of the community school strategy have been successful and need to be emphasized? Question 2, based on your experience, what aspects of the community school strategy needs improvement? And providing specific, having the opportunity to provide specific description of the barriers. And then question 3, based on your experience, what else needs to happen to successfully transform schools into places where every student is successful? At the K-5 or K-8 school level, flexibility was given to modify the wording of the questions for the students while keeping the main focus intact. Over 100 students from our community schools participate in answering these 3 questions that would help identify themes and support with crafting policy. In addition, close to 50 high school students participated in the PQP process. Their input was included and used to support revisions made to the current draft policy. With our last slide focusing on student voice, we would like to again introduce Ms. Naomi Elam, a senior or graduated junior from North Division Community High School. She'll be sharing her perspective of the importance of student voice throughout her experience at North Division Community High School and her experience in being part of this process. Naomi?
Good evening. I'm Naomi Elam. I am a senior at North Division, as Mr. G has stated. I am a student activist and student of the year for North Division High School. My experience with NPS began in 2019 as a freshman. I started YRU, which is Youth Rising Up. YRU is a student-led group. We speak and we make sure student voices have been heard. Fight against gun violence, and we also partake in school board meetings. I led multiple protests during the summer of my freshman year. The protest against George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, where we protested and walked all the way to City Hall. Another organization that was introduced to me while a student at North Division is called Skittles. Skittles is a group of people who identify as a member of LGBTQ community. I was responsible for making sure we have daily meetings, that our events are in order, and gathering students for each community event. My experience in working with Mr. Austin, who was the community school coordinator, has taught me a lot. He taught me how to be professional. He taught me how to put my thoughts and efforts into what I really want, into what really matters. He helped us find things in our school that needed to be fixed. Some of the things involve our track, creating an outside classroom. The front of our building now has seating places. There are also barricades in the front of our building to protect us from reckless drivers. I created the school hashtag, which is Legacy Strong, Future Ready. And what that means broken down is legacy. The property that the alumni left is up to us to leave for the next generation. Strong, to have the power to do or become anything we want in life. Future, a period of time where things will work in his or her favor. Ready, we will be fully prepared for the challenges the world throws at us in our careers. My experience with student voice is that no matter what the topic is, we have to repeat ourselves or we get fired up for them to actually hear us out. Some student voices are heard, but some are not. At our school, we bring things to our principal and let him know what we need as you to be successful. For example, cutting our blocks in our block times because some of us get anxiety and panic attacks for being in one classroom or area for an hour or two each day. We have disagreements that we have to solve as a team, or our goal is to make sure we have a legacy and not trash. When a student wants to be a part of the solution, that makes us want to be a part of the legacy. Dom, our community school manager, came to our school and asked us 3 questions. I am glad to have used my leadership skills and student voice to provide answers to answer his questions that will help craft a community schools policy. I believe the student voice can change a lot for the better of our community schools. I believe one voice can make an impact, but it's nice to know that so many other voices were included other than mine. North Division raised me to be who I am despite all the things that are going on around me, and to keep doing what I am shooting for and my goals. To not be a follower, but to be a leader and have a purpose. They taught me how to be different and set an example for my peers, and that it is what I am going to do. And that's what I'm going to do. Because I am the legacy, I am strong and I am future ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi, for sharing your perspective and thoughts on the importance of student voice. Before we conclude our presentation, we'd like to thank again the Milwaukee Public School students and staff, the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association, and the United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha County for their commitment these past several months to support the crafting of a community schools policy. It has been a privilege to be part of this process and to have the opportunity to collaborate with so many wonderful people. Also, one last special shout out to Naomi for being here with us this evening to share her experience as a leader and the value of student voice. You make us MPS proud. At this time, are there any questions from the committee?
Thank you very much for that presentation. And Naomi, your words really touched, I'm sure, all of our hearts. Just you, as was just stated, you make us MPS proud. Do committee members wish to make any comments or ask questions? I see Director Leonard.
Do we have any speakers?
Yes, I wasn't sure if anybody wanted to say anything else to the student before we move to
I'm sorry.
on to speakers.
I can do that, but I didn't want to forget the speakers if we have any.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, definitely. You did a great job. Very good job. It's always good to hear the future leaders in our country speaking. It's always exciting to see. It was one of the greatest pleasures I had of teaching middle school students. I'm always seeing how far they were growing over the course of the year. So you did a great job. Thank you very much. And then I'll be quiet.
Would anyone else like to make a comment about the presentation? All right. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we do have one individual registered to speak on this item.
Great, let's go ahead with that.
Okay, we will begin our public testimony. The speaker that we have on the platform is Ingrid Walker Henry. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
My name is Ingrid Walker Henry, WALKER-HENRY.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm speaking as the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association Vice President. MTEA has submitted the following language to the committee for consideration in the adoption of the community school policy. It is MTEA's belief that public education is a vital public good. MPS should not be dependent on outside organizations in a way that could undermine our schools and districts' long-term viability. This includes subcontracting essential school services. Community school coordinators and other permanent staff operating in our buildings should be Milwaukee Public School employees and eligible for benefits of MPS employment, including healthcare, dental, vision, pension, and union membership. This can be phased in over the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that was the piece of public testimony that we received, and the one speaker, Ms. Walker Henry, that completes public testimony on this item.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So going back to the committee now, is there any further discussion on this item? Director Peterson.
Yes, I just want to thank the people who are working on this work group to put together the policy. They're clearly including a lot of input from students and parents and staff. And I look forward to seeing the finished product in December. And also say I want the hats off to the 12 different community groups that are intricately involved with the 15 community schools that we have, whether it's the Boys and Girls Club or the Urban League, the Milwaukee Christian Center, Silver Spring Neighborhood Center, West Care, Wisconsin, Walnut Way, YWCA, the 16th Street Community Health Center, Journey House, the Social Development Commission, and the Freighter and Medical College. Those are incredible partners to have working day in, day out in our schools. So thank you all.
Thank you, Director Peterson. Director Garcia?
Yes, thank you for sharing the overview of the process. I think it was very impactful to kind of see the process mapped out. And obviously having Naomi speak as a student that has experience what the integration of, different community support systems can look like as we're looking for, the best outlook of learning outcomes for our student. I guess my question was if someone within like the working group can just talk a little bit about the community partners and, just how they get involved. I feel that especially for a listening audience, Director Peterson mentioned there's those organizations. I think it's very important for everyone to understand, how these organizations get plugged in, and maybe not go into detail as to what is expected of them, because we'll see more of that, as more of this policy gets written. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to emphasize, that I guess the tentacles that we're drawing into the community and the impact that has from a partnership standpoint.
Thank you. Administration?
Chair Simpson, Director Garcia, and members of the committee. We thought it was really important to have the community members, which are the community school coordinators who represent our lead agencies, and they're our current partners, because our community school coordinators are hired by those lead agencies. So we thought it was really valuable to have our community school coordinators throughout this process. And we had about 90% attendance from our community school partners representing our work group, and as well as our advisory committee. And so when we had our work group meetings and advisory committee meetings, we had attendance taken, and the data, I have collected the data, and it was overwhelming that it was consistent with our partners, that they were really interested. And it just shows by our data that 90% attendance was there on a consistent basis. And that is how we were able to get their input on a consistent basis in regards to, the process that we had in place, and making sure that their input was taken throughout the entire process.
Thank you. Director Garcia, any follow-up? No?
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Director Leonard.
So more of an observation. I've had the opportunity to, over the course of almost 28 years, have the chance to actually observe community-based education in other communities. And I'm excited that I've seen it happening here. I think it's a excellent partnership that I have I guess I'm surprised at how cooperative and how well it works together, to be honest. Where that I have not always seen that in other places, but I have seen it here. So I'm actually encouraged by it. And in fact, so I'm so encouraged by it, I'm trying to get our first community school in the 7th district. So, but I just, it's good to see that kind of relationship that has grown between the different entities that want to work with our school district and our community. We need everybody working together on this to make this really be successful. So thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Director Leonard. Director Garcia, is your hand up? That was from before. Okay.
That's a residual hand.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Director Carr.
Thank you, Chair Simpson. I just want to say, first thing, big ups to Naomi. I've heard excellent things about you. You are definitely a strong leader leading the North Division community.
I am extremely proud of you, and I want to encourage you to keep going and continue to be the voice for the voiceless. I also want to say that I definitely appreciate the list of community partners that are engaged in this process. It is very much so inclusive and reflective of different aspects or different parts of the community. I have had the opportunity to sit in on some of the community conversations and the facilitation process and the way the safe space that was created for students and educators and families to engage and be authentic and honest about their experiences, and then feel like they were heard or listened to, and then to create this opportunity to reflect and present the information and build on that, that insight, that feedback is amazing. And so I just want to say great work, and Naomi, keep it up.
Thank you for those comments, Director Carr. Any further questions or comments by members of the board? No, I'd just like to also just echo what my colleagues have said about the great work that's being done in our community schools. And clearly this is a powerful entity that we're bringing into our school system. So it's really nice to see the work that's being done. And thank you, Director Peterson, for making sure that we're pushing the envelope on this item. So thank you. That was an informational item only. So Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 2, a report with possible action on resolution 2021-R-18 regarding standardized testing. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, this item is related to a resolution regarding standardized testing. The team has compiled school data testing data, reviewed and deliberated on the data, and have noted some key findings and recommendations based on the scope of the resolution. Before turning it over to Dr. Natalie Collins to walk us through the presentation, I would like to recognize and thank the research and assessment and data team for facilitating and leading this very thoughtful and methodical process. At this time, I will ask Dr. Collins to begin the presentation, and after which we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Collins.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Director Simpson, members of the committee, Dr. Natalie Collins, Manager of Assessment and Data. I'm going to be giving a report out, our final report on resolution 2021-R-0118 related to the standardized testing. As we look at our 5 priorities for success, I think our work with this team and really connects to all 5 of these areas to grow and develop our team, to ensure transparency, to strengthen the collaboration of all of us working together, and ultimately really getting at student achievement, which is what our assessment measures. I'll provide some background and purpose of the resolution as well as the work group. December of 2020, this resolution was brought forward requesting additional information relative to state and federally funding required standardized tests. It was asked to include information related to vendors that provide these tests, costs, time, impact of testing, things of that nature. Our team worked in January and February to survey building leaders to gather information related to cost and time by school. Since that had not been standard practice to collect, we worked with building principals and their teams to gather that information. Data were self-reported by schools, and then in March we made a presentation of that data to the board. And then a motion at that time was made to create a work group to engage in a review of data by school that would be diverse in nature and further dig into the issues of cost, time, professional development. Our charge was to review the data, collect more data if necessary, seek input from various stakeholders, respond to the key issues outlined in the resolution, and then ultimately make recommendations to the board, which is what I'm bringing to you tonight. We developed a plan for the work group, invited potential members, and then worked on our collaboration with those colleagues in other departments. The membership of the committee was 56 people signed up to be members. It was 26 administrators, 25 teachers, 2 board members, 2 community members, and a member of the MTEA. Every region was represented. Every school level was represented. 75% of the membership were school-based staff, and 45% of the membership were teachers. The meeting process was structured over the course of 4 meetings between July and October. We hosted meetings live in a virtual format. The meetings were recorded in order to provide accessibility for participants who are unable to attend live the day of the meetings. We presented information, collected feedback between meetings. We also held an optional Q&A session. So if participants wanted to engage with the assessment team in any further discussion or had questions relative to the feedback or additional things that they wanted to work through with us, questions and feedback, we made ourselves available at that time. Participants then completed a feedback form, and then we continued to analyze that the data and feedback that came to us to summarize key findings, and the next cycle of the meeting continued. So the ranking of key findings, what we did is through the analysis of all the feedback, we discovered 8 key findings. A key finding being a conclusion we were able to draw from all of the feedback. These were big theme issues that were repeatedly mentioned by multiple voices from the team in multiple different feedback forms. Participants were presented with all 8 of the key findings and then asked to rank them from 1 to 8, 1 being the most important key finding and 8 being the least important key finding. So what was found here of the 8 is the 4 on this first slide. They're all of nearly equal average score to each other. They were ranged from an average score of 3.2 to 3.4 and how folks ranked them. So the first one was clear guidelines and understanding around analysis and assessment data, differing opinions on the degree of alignment between assessments and curriculum. Students are not academically prepared for state assessments, and more time is needed for professional development. The next 2 findings here, 5 and 6, again, they're of nearly equal average score to each other as well. They had an average score of 4.6 and 4.7. Number 5, there was the finding of varying approaches to assessment, which causes discrepancies in test practice and use of assessment results across our schools, and that assessment coordination tasks are time-consuming and often need to occur outside the workday. The next 2 findings, number 7 related to, we had presented changes we'd already made to the assessment calendar to eliminate redundancy and remove computer-based testing out of kindergarten. And so the recent changes to the assessment calendar and plans for test administration were well received. And then the last item was the cost of test materials not being of a great concern. The recommendations that came out from that further discussion, there was many recommendations that people made. We presented the key findings and said, okay, based on these key findings, what recommendations or action steps could come through this? And we looked at those with the most frequency, and the recommendations you see before you, those were each mentioned more than a dozen times as action. So the first recommendation was to redistribute professional development time. There was an expression of insufficient time during the day, the week, and the school year as a whole to be able to conduct adult learning. School-directed PD time is 1 hour a week, but concern was expressed that on shortened instruction weeks, PD time is not available. We took a look at the number of weeks that are in a school year and then the number of weeks that are shortened by a day or more. And that leaves only 22 weeks or 22 hours of the school year for school-directed PD to do that work. The second recommendation was to allocate resources to support student academic growth. Resources included things such as technology, and then it also included the idea of staff development. That is part of the first recommendation. that adult learning related to things that could improve upon students' achievement. The last one was to implement common formative and summative classroom assessments aligned to the grade level curriculum and at all grade levels. There were several comments related to ensuring teaching to grade level standards, alignment of instruction, curriculum, and assessment to regularly assess how students were progressing, and that common formative or summative assessments would be a way to get at assuring that alignment is occurring. Thank you.
Is that the conclusion of the report? Okay, just just making sure. If it's okay with committee members, I will go to public comments if that's all right. All right, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions at this time? Director Leonard?
Well, I have a lot of questions. So I won't blast us with all of them, but I had a chance. I mean, obviously this resolution was put together before I was on the board. So I took a very close look at it. I am not I'm going to put myself out there right away. I am not a strong proponent of a lot of the testing that we do. I find that there's some use for it, but I feel that it's been used as a cudgel to actually hurt our district and other districts really in the state. So that's my first bias with it. The other thing, and I just had a meeting yesterday at the Fairview PTO, and some of my special ed parents made a very valid point about testing. They're very frustrated with it. Anyone that's ever been a special ed teacher knows that it's not so much the results of the test for a special ed student, it's what it does to that special ed student during the test itself. So the level of frustration and anxiety that they go through, and then having to be assessed and their scores are, you still can't hear me? Oh, sorry. It's counterproductive for the student, very frustrating for the parents and teachers. Sometimes I think we have to make some kind of way of making assessments be more fair when we look at growth-oriented issues. So I think anyone that's ever been a teacher knows exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think there's any mystery to this. I'm not saying that we should not do any testing at all. And those people that worked on this, I thank you very much. I know it's a challenge and you have to go through a lot of details and information. I am looking forward to looking at the metrics from this to see as much details about what the results are when you're finished with the complete report. I'm assuming that there's more than just this narrative. Is that correct?
Administration.
Excuse me, Chair Simpson, Director Leonard, this presentation is the final report to the board.
Oh.
Because the resolution directed that the final step was to come back with recommendations.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna save myself for other questions, and it may not be today, but I'm just curious as to what kind of and I can't even state what I'm gonna say yet. Okay. I will get back to it, but I was thinking of I just have some more detailed questions, but I will wait on that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard, and understood. It's a big item. Director Garcia.
Yes, thank you. I think that listening to the final report here, I think really validates a lot of the, conversations that I have had with a lot of, educators, administrators within my district, especially with the, key findings. And I guess just to kind of piggyback off of Director Leonard, I guess my question was more around, now that we have these recommendations, if administration can just talk a little bit more about, what's next? Is there an implementation? Do we have a timeline around this? Like, what does that look like now that we have identified 3 things that we know we can tangibly go after? Yep, that's my I guess question.
Administration.
Chair, Go ahead. Chair Simpson and members of the committee, one of the things that we were doing is taking a look at what has been brought back as key findings and recommendations and seeing from that, what can we do, looking at how we move that forward as far as moving forward as towards recommendations. One of the things that jumps out right away is looking at the professional development time to see what can be done around that, to know that, you know, with the 22 hours out of a year, and try to look at some opportunities of some things that we can do around that. But what we are doing is just looking at this particular piece and also looking for further direction as well from the board of some of the things that you would want to see as well.
Thank you, administration. Director Garcia, any follow-up to that?
No, I think that's really helpful. You know, I think to echo Director Leonard, this was a resolution before my time, so I'm trying to really get a handle as to what exactly, you know, where we were, where we're at, and I guess most importantly, where we're going with this. So I think I'm excited to see what we can do. And then just, I guess the last follow-up with, you know, one of the recommendations being more resources being allocated for the support of academic growth. Have we, I don't know, like, I guess, put that on top of the ESSER money that we are, you know, got, you know, kind of triaging the resources that we are able to have, that it's maybe, you know, single time allocations, but how are we, I guess those are just conversations for us to keep in mind of, now that we have access to additional resources, how we can utilize that to tie it back into this item.
Administration.
Simpson and members of the committee, one of the things that we are doing is taking a look at our ESSER $2 as well as ESSER 3. There is a menu of services of a number of different things that are going to work here for us, and looking at what that looked like. We're working with principals and school leaders right now to also further develop that robust list, and also looking at a lot of other research driven type of strategies and materials that's out there to be used. So we're looking at some of those kinds of things to move us in the right direction. Dr. Collins, is there anything else?
No. Thank you. I see, I thought, Director Peterson, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, I did.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to thank Dr. Collins and the staff that she's worked with, and the 56 people who participated. I was one of those participants, and I missed one of the meetings, but they were well run, and there was a lot of input from a diverse group of people, so that I feel positive about. I do share the concerns that Director Leonard mentioned in terms of testing, and I think one of the things to keep in mind is virtually every one of the tests, maybe with one exception, that is given in MPS is state or federally mandated. And so if people have concerns about, and I do, the test, we have to be diligent in terms of influencing federal and state decision makers. Most recently, there was an attempt by the Republicans to improve reading, or so they said it was for that purpose. And their solution was not to provide reading teachers, not to provide more resources to districts, but to increase the number of tests that students would take. And any teacher knows that testing that frequently, as they suggested, isn't going to show growth the way that annual or semi-annual testing might do. So I'd also say, though, that there are a couple of things that I want to just caution us about. One is to continue to be concerned about the anxiety that testing creates amongst some students. It's not the same with all students, but it has a very definite negative impact. And it's not just the testing, it's actually even preparing for the testing and the practice testing that can happen, especially with the youngest of our children. So that's something that I think we just have to keep in mind. The other thing is that one item that was not in the resolution, so it's not, I raised this issue not as a criticism of the report, because it wasn't asked for. That as I've heard from a number of teachers, and I experienced in my time as teaching, that some of the consequences of focusing on tests, or even stating, like one of the things that we stated is students are not academically prepared for state assessments, and I believe that. But the results or the conclusion shouldn't be necessarily more practice tests. I see that in some cases, and this is nationwide, the emphasis on testing has decreased the amount of time spent in social studies or science, the arts in some classrooms. And it's a pity because, in fact, kids learn the skills that are tested sometimes in the testing by not just reading and writing and math, but by really engaging in science and social studies. And so that's something to keep in mind as we go forward. And the last thing I'll just say, another thing to keep in mind is I appreciate the need for formative assessments. Teachers invented testing. Teachers aren't opposed to testing. It's just the purpose, the consequence. And I appreciate that we need formative assessments. I think teachers probably need different types. Different teachers need some assistance in that. But I would be cautious about mandating a whole set of formative assessments or additional assessments that may be better than the standardized tests, but still are very, very time consuming and might already be being done by many teachers who, if they're teaching, they simultaneously are assessing as they go through the day, the weeks, and the months. So those are some comments, but thanks again to the group that put forth these recommendations.
Thank you, Director Peterson. And I see Mr. Chasen has joined us. Mr. Chasen.
Thank you, Chair Simpson. Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. As it relates to the formative assessments, that was a common theme in the ambitious instruction update this committee received last month. Is there any impact that the administration sees in terms of these key findings and how that would work out into its current ambitious instruction plan?
Administration.
Okay. Chair Simpson and members of the committee, one of the things that we are doing is, trying to make sure that we have total alignment. This is something that we will go back and take a closer look at. And part of those individuals that were a part of that team was there. Dr. Mel is one of those individuals that are part of both the teams, which is also working with the ambitious instruction plan. And I will let her give further details. Dr. Mel.
Thank you. Good evening, Director Simpson, members of the committee, and Matt Chasen. Part of ambitious instruction, accelerating learning, one of the key levers is formative practices. This is an area that principals and teachers are receiving professional learning on through the course of the entire year. We are also collecting data through our walkthrough tools, which is a formative practice for adults, to determine how the learning is going and how it is being implemented. So this is a strategy that will be throughout the entire course of the school year. And our walkthrough data is looking at things like the implicit or explicit instruction, engagement, and the formative practices. So this will be done as part of ambitious instruction, accelerating learning throughout the course of the school year.
Thank you. Mr. Chasen, any follow-up questions or comments? No? Okay, thank you so much. Is there any, Director Garcia?
Yeah, so I just wanted to take this time also before we ended this item. If I could just hear from the administration in regards to how English language learners are factored into standardized testing. I know there has been a trend to offer the tests in their native language? Like, is that something that we have considered? Have we started implementing that? Like, where are we in regards to, I guess, like better accommodating, I guess, like learning, tracking of learning for our English language learners?
Thank you. Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the committees, each of the state required assessments has accessibility features for allowing English learners better access to the assessments. The forward test has stack translations in Spanish. Our 8th grade on-demand writing test that we just implemented last month, we had the prompts available in Spanish. Students could respond in Spanish as well. And so there's things that are built into the test. There's things that are provided at the classroom level. I think also in relative to tracking information, we do a data collaborative with the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Ed. I think it's monthly, if not every 6 weeks, where we help help them look at data, monitoring former ELs, looking at the progress of students at different levels of where they're at. And we've been doing that, I think, 2 or 3 years now. It's been a strong collaboration. English learners, students with disabilities, and all students are at the forefront of, making sure that they have the right access they need to level the playing, to be as successful as possible on the test. We do have to work within the confines of what's provided by the testing platform and or is allowable by the test or by the state.
Director Simpson, Director Garcia, members of the committee, another part of testing is for our newest English learners that are coming into the district. No state assessment is required for a child who has been in the state less than 1 year and has an English language proficiency level of less than a 1 or a 2. So that is a protection of those students so that they are not even required to take the forward test, ACT Aspire, ACT. They are required to take Access, but that is to assess their English language proficiency. Another accommodation that I thought of as Dr. Collins was speaking to is that several of the tests also allow for the other languages that if they can listen in English and or if someone can do translation. Some of these require specific permissions from the state, but we do everything that we can to make certain that students of any language background have the accommodations available to them to be able to access the test.
Thank you for that information. Are there any other, Director Peterson?
Thank you. Just a follow-up question about that. It was stated that after for the first year, the students who have 1 or 2 ESL level don't have to take the test. Is it in the second year, doesn't the federal government require them to take the test?
Administration.
Director Simpson, Director Peterson, members of the committee. Yes, they have 1 year that they have the buffer, and that is their first year in country and in the district. The second year, they are required to take assessments, but there are designated supports and accommodations available.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Director Peterson?
1 year is a short time. That's
very short time.
But it is what it is. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. So this was an informational item. I have a feeling we will be coming back to this in some form or fashion in the future from the questions generated this evening. But for now, we'll move on. Thank you so much for the work that's been done to present this information so far tonight. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3,
which is a report with possible action on the regional showcase. And tonight we have the East region. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you. Administration, will you please present this item?
Yes, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. This evening's agenda will conclude on a high note with our monthly regional showcase. This month's showcase will feature the East Region. Ginsland School is our showcase school. I would like to thank Dr. Dinkins for her support of the East Region, as well as Principal Brown. One of our parents are going to be with us tonight, and a student is going to join us this evening. And after the presentation, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Dinkins.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Tony Dinkins, and I am the proud Regional Superintendent for the East Region. I'm excited to bring you the Regional Showcase tonight. During our showcase, we will highlight the student population and makeup of our region, point out our diverse school programs that we offer within our region, and share some data points that indicate we are moving in the right direction. Our spotlight school, as Dr. Posley said, is Ginsland School, and I'm joined here tonight by the principal, one of her talented students, and a supportive parent who are all eager to share with you the wonderful things that are happening at their school. In the Mighty Mighty East, our work is grounded and aligned to each of the district's 5 priorities for success. It is always our goal to ensure that each priority is used to inform the direction of our work. Through this model, we believe that our schools are environments where students engage, learn, and thrive. The East Region is comprised of 24 dynamic schools. We serve approximately 9,594 students with 1,323 amazing staff members. 18.5% of our students are students with disabilities, 10.6% are English language learners, and 73.5% of our students are considered economically disadvantaged. The East Region is one of the most diverse regions in Milwaukee Public Schools. Here is a breakdown of our student population. 22.6% of our students are Hispanic, approximately 38.5% are African American, 24.1% are white, 5.4% identify as 2 or more races, 8.7% are Asian, and 0.6% are American Indian. We absolutely adore our diverse student population. The East Region offers a variety of school programs. We offer Montessori, arts integration, Project Lead the Way, STEM, K-3 and Head Start, ESL, world languages, and language immersion programs, just to name a few. In our region, we have a program that fits the unique needs of any student, parent, and family. During the 2018-19 state report card, we had one school that significantly exceeded expectations, several schools that exceeded expectations, a few schools that met expectations, and several schools that are on their way by meeting a few expectations. We also had 3 schools that failed to meet expectations, but all 3 would have scored higher had they not been deducted the points for absenteeism. So our leaders are simultaneously focused on improving instruction and attendance. Now at this time, I would like to introduce our Spotlight Principal, Ms. Kristen Brown. She would like to highlight some of the wonderful things that her school has to offer. Ms. Brown?
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Kirsten Brown, and I am the proud principal of Frederick Ginsland School. I'd like to thank you in advance for the opportunity to present some of the wonderful offerings Ginsland has for our students. Ginsland is a K-8 school located in the heart of the River West community. We currently serve approximately 693 students. Our school community reaches the hearts and minds of all of our students. Our student populations include 46% students with disabilities. Many of those students are orthopedically challenged and or medically fragile. At Ginsland, we embrace neurodiversity through compassionate connections and equitable instruction. One thing that is unique about our Project Lead the Way lab is that we ensure that we modify the curriculum to involve all students, including our special education population. Our students are introduced to engineering design, participate in the annual Hour of Code, the NPS STEM Fair, and the Systems Now conference. Our students are privileged to utilize 2 3D printers to complete projects and secured 4 winning placements in the 2021 District STEM Fair. During the past few years, Ginsland was named a Project Lead the Way Distinguished Gateway School. This year, Ginsland has partnered along with aiming for high quality arts instruction to implement arts integration throughout our school. We also collaborate with Arts at Large to support this endeavor. Our students participated in the STEAM Summit for Girls and re-engaged students in arts integration through our Makerspace Station and green screen wall to design a myriad of projects. Here you see a picture of me with a few of our innovative second grade girls designing a future highway. Thank you.
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, my name is Madison Robinson, and I am currently an 8th grade student at Ginsland School. I am super excited about the plans to redesign our playground. Additionally, I am proud to have had the opportunities to participate in swim classes, sports, tap classes, events such as the annual Harvest Fest, Sim Fair, and World Drumming. While at Ginsland, I have been afforded access to supplies, Chromebook support, recognition of accomplishments, and exposure to urban agriculture through the use of the aquaponics lab, grow machines, and outdoor gardens. I have enjoyed being a student at Ginsland.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Gerard Robinson, and I'm Madison's father and a proud parent of Ginsland School. I appreciate the many opportunities and support Ginsland offers parents and families. We have access to the River West Food Pantry, which is housed in Ginsland. Before the pandemic, the food pantry was open to parents and the community every Tuesday after school. Ginsland U is also offered for parents, which offers classes designed to support parents' needs. The School Engagement Council meets every 3rd Thursday on the month and gives parents the opportunity to use their voices and have input in the school. Finally, Ginsland offers several parent events, including the Sink or Float Family Fun Night. This was a cool event where families were invited to make root beer floats. We then learned about and participated in STEM activities in preparation for the school-wide science fair. Thank you.
In closing, we do have some opportunities for growth in the East region. We are working to implement strategies that will increase attendance at each of our schools. Our focus on Tier 1 instruction includes accelerating learning opportunities and supporting student and teacher growth with formative assessments. We want to provide more opportunities throughout our region for parental involvement, and we want to expand the number of partnerships with community organizations. We truly feel that with all of this, we can positively impact student achievement and success. Thank you so much, and now we can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for that report. Do committee members wish to make any comments or ask questions? Seeing, Director Peterson.
I want to thank the principal, the parent, and the student for presenting tonight. I have the privilege of living right across the street from Ginsland School, and I interact regularly with staff and some parents. And it's a very, very active school that serves a diverse group of students, and it makes me proud to be a school board member and see the good work of the staff at that school. So keep it up, and I look forward to the revitalization of the playground in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Peterson. Director Garcia.
Yes, I just wanted to give kudos to Dr. Dickens and the East Region. I know speaking about just the diversity of the students that we're serving, the challenges that we're facing, and then compounded to that, all the residuals of what it means to live through and pass a pandemic, I think is something that we can't give enough credit to, the leadership around making sure that, our learning environments are as healthy and productive and protective for our students and our staff. So thank you all for, just making that region as strong as it can be. And, I look forward to supporting, any initiatives that can really help address specifically the challenges of absenteeism. So I guess my question around that was, I know that as a district, we've been having challenges with, busing. Has this significantly continued to impact, this specific challenge? Or are we kind of at the same level where we have been busing shortage and all that?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, Director Garcia, members of the committee. We are definitely working with transportation. We have seen improvements with our busing, but we do have a system to alert parents when busing is not going to be available. And so that teachers will be checking in with students when that occurs so that they can get counted for attendance.
Thank you. Director Garcia, is there a follow-up?
No, I just also wanted to give a shout out to the folks at Ginsland. Thank you for sharing, your perspective and allowing us to know your school a little better.
Absolutely. I see Director Carr's hand. Director Carr?
Thank you, Chair Simpson. I just want to say excellent job to Dr. Dinkins and the East Region. You all are making strides that are so important and that's so significant. And it really makes me proud of the work that's going on here in the district, the entire MPS district. I had the opportunity to sub at Ginsland School about a year or two ago, and to just be immersed and welcomed or embraced within that school culture was amazing. The children were amazing. The staff and their support of one another was absolutely astounding. And so I just want to give another shout out to Ginsland for the great work that you all are doing. Continue to make us proud. And again, keep it up and great work, Dr. Dinkins in the East Region.
Thank you. And I'd just like to echo that as well. Thank you so much for the updates on the East Region. And it's always so fun to hear about the progress that's being made. And thank you to the Ginsland community members who came to join us tonight at our meeting and share a little bit of your community with us. So thank you very much to everybody. Seeing no other hands, Madam Secretary, do we have any public testimony on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you again. And Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
There being no further business before this committee, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Drive safe and be well.
Great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Recording stopped.